If you've ever sat him down, looked him in the eye, and explained calmly, clearly, vulnerably exactly what you need from him, and then watched absolutely nothing change, this is for you. Because you've done everything right. You used I feel statements. You didn't yell. You picked the right moment. You were specific. You were fair. And he nodded. Maybe he even said, "You're right, I'll work on that." Then 2 weeks later, you're in the same conversation again. Same words, same calm tone, same sinking feeling in your stomach that you're talking to a wall that learned how to make eye contact. And the part that quietly destroys you isn't his behavior. It's the question you won't say out loud. If I'm communicating this clearly and nothing is changing, is something wrong with me? No. Nothing is wrong with you, but something is wrong with the strategy, and it's not what you think. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you 3 things. 1, why clear communication often backfires with men, not because they don't understand, but because of what it accidentally triggers. 2, the pattern that tells you whether he can't hear you or won't hear you, and why that difference changes everything. And 3, what actually gets through, and it's not a better speech. Let's start with the part nobody tells you. When you sit a man down and clearly express what you need, you expect the conversation to function like an exchange of information. You're delivering clarity, he should receive it and adjust. But that's not what's happening inside his nervous system. For many men, a direct conversation about relationship needs triggers something psychologists call a flooding response. His heart rate elevates, cortisol spikes. His nervous system reads the conversation not as information, but as evaluation, a performance review where he's already failing. And when a man's nervous system floods, he doesn't move toward you. He shuts down, he gets defensive, he goes quiet. Or he gives you that calm nod, "You're right, I'll work on that," which isn't agreement, it's a survival strategy to end the flooding as fast as possible. So here's the painful irony. The clearer you are, the more his system registers threat. The more vulnerable you are, the more pressure he feels. The more detailed your explanation, the more he hears you're failing, even if those words never leave your mouth. So you're not communicating wrong, you're communicating to a nervous system that can't receive what you're sending in that format. Now, this is where it gets important, because there's a critical difference between a man who floods and recovers versus a man who floods and disappears. Here's how to tell the difference. A man who floods but genuinely wants to meet you will show you something after the conversation, not during it. Not in the moment where he nods and agrees, but in the days that follow. He might not do exactly what you asked, but you'll notice small adjustments. A text he wouldn't normally send, a question about your day that feels slightly effortful, an attempt, imperfect, maybe even clumsy, to move toward what you described. That's a man's nervous system needed time to process what his ears actually heard. The information got in, it just took a different route than you expected. But if the pattern is this, you talk, he agrees, nothing changes. You talk again, he agrees again, nothing changes again, and this cycle has repeated 3, 4, 5 times. That's not a processing delay. That's a decision. He's not failing to understand you. He understood you the first time. He's choosing the cost of your disappointment over the cost of changing every single time. And no amount of clearer communication will fix a man's quiet decision to stay exactly where he is. This is the question that changes everything. Am I dealing with a capacity problem or a priority problem? If it's capacity, he wants to but struggles, the answer is patience with evidence. If it's priority, he can but won't, the answer is boundaries, not better speeches. So what actually gets through? Not louder words, not more words, not the perfect metaphor that finally makes him see. Here are 3 strategies that work with male psychology instead of against it. Strategy 1. Replace the speech with the signal. Instead of a 20-minute conversation about what you need, demonstrate the standard through your behavior. If you need consistency, stop being available on an inconsistent schedule. If you need effort, stop compensating for the effort he isn't making. Men's nervous systems are wired to respond more to behavioral shifts than verbal requests. When the environment changes, when your pattern changes, his brain registers it as real information. Not because words are meaningless to him, but because actions bypass the flooding response entirely. You're not playing games, you're communicating in the channel he actually receives. Strategy 2. Say it once and attach a natural consequence. Instead of explaining the same need 4 times in increasingly gentle language, say it once, clearly, without anger, then attach what will naturally happen if nothing changes. Not a threat, not an ultimatum delivered in a shaking voice. Something like, I need consistency in how we communicate. If that doesn't happen, I'm going to start making plans that don't revolve around waiting to hear from you. Then, and this is the part that matters more than the sentence, follow through, quietly, without announcing it. Because the first time you said it, he heard you. The question was never comprehension, it was consequence. Strategy 3. Stop negotiating with his potential. This is the hardest one. If you've communicated clearly multiple times and the pattern hasn't shifted, you are no longer communicating. You are auditioning. You are re-performing your worth in slightly different costumes, hoping this version of the explanation finally unlocks the version of him you know is in there. But the version of him that's in there is the version that's standing in front of you consistently, repeatedly, after being told clearly what you need. Write down your 3 non-negotiable needs, not wishes, not preferences, the baseline requirements for your nervous system to feel safe in this relationship. Then ask yourself not whether he has the potential to meet them, but whether he is meeting them right now based on the pattern of the last 60 days. Because potential is a story, pattern is data, and you deserve to make decisions based on data. Here's what I want you to take from this. There is nothing wrong with how you communicate. You are probably clearer, more thoughtful, and more emotionally precise than he will ever fully appreciate. The issue was never your delivery. The issue is that communication only works when both people are invested in the outcome. So stop asking, how do I say this so he finally hears me? Start asking, why am I still explaining myself to someone who has already understood and already chosen? That question won't feel good, but it will get you somewhere that the 6th calm conversation will never get. If this shifted something for you, tell me in the comments, how many times have you had the talk? Be honest, the number matters. And if you want more clarity like this, no games, no bashing, no cliches, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.